My melanin is popping.
I'll tell you right now, I love my melanin.
There's actually 50 shades of melanin.
Legalize it. Yeah. Melanin.
Let's get ready.
Wiki. 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 Wiki.
Highly melanated.
Wiki.
Highly melanated.
Wiki.
Highly.
Let's get ready.
Highly melanated. Highly melanated. Highly
Let's get ready.
melanated.
Yeah.
Highly. I was gonna keep coughing into it.
Let me clear my throat.
That was pretty good, guys. That was pretty good, right? Hey guys. Welcome back to another episode of Highly Melanated.
Highly melanated.
Highly melanated.
Wiki.
Melanation.
All in your nation.
You know what? Just PJ is here.
Yushi Valley Girls here.
Ew.
I am a cartoon character, Red.
Cannot. Deal.
And Blair's here. I got nothing. Blair.
And the gang is back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, start over now.
Sorry, no. No, leave it. Claire is here.
Oh God, here we go. I was like, who the fuck is Claire?
It's a cat.
And the gang is back, for another episode of Highly Melanated, where we melanate your palate and feed your soul. I'd like to take the time to thank you guys for coming back for another episode. If this is your first time here, we would like to just personally, seriously welcome you. Welcome.
Bienvenue.
Welcome.
Howdy, y'all.
Aquava.
Hello there, nigga. How you doing?
Wow.
He's so sexy. Are those beautiful jeans?
I don't know why that.
Hell no, you know they polo.
Hi.
As always, you can follow us on Instagram. That is Highly Melanated Podcast. You can email us any questions, comments, concerns. That's highlymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, which is H_melanatedpod. And now also the website is up and running. You can also follow us on highlymelanatedpodcast.com.
Ow, for the website
Come
that PJ
through.
worked on.
We
Yes.
moving, guys. Moving on up.
Yes.
Before we even get
Valid.
and also I would like to acknowledge the fact that before we even get into the toast, we didn't acknowledge this like a couple of episodes ago. But guys, did you realize that we're a whole year old?
Oh my God.
Happy birthday, Highly Melanated.
Happy birthday to us.
No.
Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday. Ow. Yes. We
Happy
did
birthday,
that.
happy birthday, happy
Make sure
birthday.
you blow on the candle and make a wish.
So all your dreams may come true.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we didn't
So,
realize.
we didn't even realize that.
We
Just keep rolling with the punches,
We
huh?
I
started
thought
this.
it was coming up.
No, yeah, we started this podcast in April, the second week of April.
Wow.
Wow.
Right after-
Look at us.
It was.
So we're like a year and a month old.
Yeah.
Like a year and a month and a half.
This was right. We started this right after my anniversary. Yeah.
Very true. Wow.
Wow, look at us. Well, that's dope.
Ahead, yo, whippersnappers. Oh, I'm thirsty.
Good evening, everyone.
No, he's back.
Jeez.
It is I, Red Jeeves, and I wanted to go around and do my normal toast to see if anybody would just like a nice healthy drink and a shout out to anybody. And before we get to our toast, I want to go over the special for today, and that is being black in white spaces. I wish we
The facial expressions
need
that
to- we
went
need to-
along with that.
I was about to
I'm
say
telling you.
we need to do video. We really do because
I mean,
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
I can't
Stay
wait, guys.
tuned.
Stay tuned. It's just that gotta get this camera situation
I was
together.
say I'm also gonna have to get this hair situation together because
And
right
I'm-
now the way my hair is looking to keep it out of my face for the headphones is looking kind of cray cray.
So you're gonna get the
I
hair
can't be
situation
looking on
I'm gonna
camera
get the
like
stomach
that.
situation together.
Hey,
So what would you like? What would you guys like to drink? Anybody has a toast?
I have a toast. I don't know why I always start out like this. Do I not? You want me to start my toast out?
Please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what would you like? My
I
shift is almost over.
okay. Can I get please? Let me get a Mai Tai.
The Mai Tai, splendid.
And I want to give a shout out to another fellow podcast group, the Brown Boys. I want to give a shout out to them. They've been holding down some pretty great programs lately. And just recently, there was a program that they held for mental health awareness. They had Dr. Jeff Guadir there. And it was just an excellent conversation just about how we need as black men to deal with our anxiety and ways to deal with it. Breathing exercises he gave us, he taught us. And just it was just a wonderful thing just to be in the room with just a bunch of other beautiful black men. But it was really, really good to actually be in them. So I want to give them a toast because they've really been representing for the community. So shout out to you, Victor. Shout out to you, Courtney. Brown Boys.
Shout out Victor and Courtney. Keep doing what you're doing.
Shots out. There's some good people.
They are. They're
love
actually
them.
dope as fuck. They're dope. They're dope AF.
Anyone else like a toast?
Could I have a virgin pina colada, extra colada?
Extra. Of course. I just have a bottles of colada. Just
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I like my pina colada very colada-y.
Oh. Classic.
With the hyphen Colada E.
Colada-y. And I know this is late. I know this is a late shout out, but I want to give a toast just to all the mothers out there, specifically all the black mothers for Mother's Day that occurred a couple weeks ago. Just want to shout y'all all out. I have many black women in my life who are essentially surrogate moms to me, and it was just, I mean, I talk to them all the time, but it was just another special occasion to just be able to talk to them on Sunday and just kind of let them know, like, I just appreciate you for mothering me and, you know, being such a, you know, figure in my life. So shout out to all the mamas and shout out to all the black mamas and shout out to all the black mamas that mother me in particular.
You, Sheeta?
So I would like to have a strawberry lemonade, please.
Oh, absolutely. Would you like it spiked?
No, not this time. thank
She on
you.
my team today. She on my
this
team
is-
today.
I could have sworn
As
she
long
said
as
she
it's made
gave
with
us.
real strawberries and real lemon and alkaline water, we're good to go.
Only the best for you. Go ahead, madam.
So I would like to actually give my toast to the wonderful, the awesome Mrs. Tyra Banks, who graced the cover of Sports Illustrated at the beautiful age of 45. She was the first black woman to cover the magazine solo in 97. And I really liked the tweet that she put out when she showed like the photo of it. She said, "This is for everybody that has been told they are not good enough because of their body, their age, their everything. Hashtag Band X is here to tell you that you are frigging fierce no matter what anybody says. Drop mic now." And I just thought that was so inspirational and so beautiful. And the strawberry part of that drink goes to her, and the lemonade part goes to Miss Missy Elliott for getting her doctorates from Berkeley College.
Yes,
Although
she
it
did.
was spoiled with Justin Timberlake being there. But it was all about Missy Elliott, first Black female rapper to be able to do that. And that's a huge accomplishment. And I just think it was very beautiful. So my toast goes to the both of them.
Shout outs. Okay. Well, because I feel like family with you guys now, I just have a seat and I'll actually do a toast for myself.
This motherfucker just don't want to get paid.
Thank you in advance. No, I want to do a shout out to actually Jeffrey Usher. He is a bus driver for MTA for the M101. I see him early in the mornings when I'm going to the gym. I mean, like sometimes about 5:30 in the morning. And he deserves a shout out because he always has a really good mood and demeanor about himself. And that's something that I noticed from him from the first time that I started getting on his bus at that particular time. And I think that's important to kind of highlight that people are doing that because,
especially that early in the morning.
I mean, no one's up at that time.
Hell
He is just, I get on the bus and he's like, "Good morning, man. How you doing? I hope you have a good day." I mean, like he was just so polite, so courteous. And I went up to him today and I told him, like, I want you to understand that changes people's perspectives and moods. And I don't think that we do that enough with our people to let us understand, like, how we interact with each other changes a lot. Mm-hmm. So shout out to you, Jeffrey, for really doing that, and then at the same time so early in the morning.
Yes.
Good job.
Shout out, Jeffrey.
Shout out to you. I want to piggyback off of that really quick, because back when I was going to work early in the morning to get on the train and go to my corporate slave ship, I used to actually try to be late so I can be on this one train where the conductor of the 2 train, I never really got his name, so shout out to you, Jeeves.
Red Jeeves.
Oh, both of you. Shout out to you for actually acknowledging his brother's name. But he would get on, say the morning announcements as, it leaves the train, and it would repeat it a couple of times. And he would give everybody, have a great Tuesday, and just remember, smile at somebody. You don't never know what somebody's going through. Like, he would actually, and then go into detail about, the trains that are transferring. If you need to go here, if you need to get off here, get off. If you need to get off at the next stop to transfer to the 5, you better get off here because it's going to be train traffic. You're going to be late. It would brighten your day. So it's so awesome when people actually do that. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, when there are such mundane tasks that people actually bring personality and some excitement to.
Personality.
Yes, love all of that.
Sorry,
unclench your breast, sir.
My
He's
bosom.
giving us a burlesque show over here.
And we shall proceed.
I was saying that's a perfect way to transition into our melanated senses because I'm seeing all of this. So as you guys know, let's just get right into our appetizer before our meal. Our melanated sense, where we talk about the things that we heard, seen, tasted, touched, and smelled throughout the week.
Flawless victory.
No, she almost had. I saw she said she stuttered. She said smelled.
Smelt. Whoever smelt it, dealt it.
She's got it. I got faith in you. So it's all good.
Thank you. Who would like to share their melanated sense?
Red.
So I just go I
have been volunteered as tribute
every single time. I would do this.
You hate when your parents do that to you,
right?
You've been voluntold.
You've been voluntold, exactly.
Very much so.
Oh, I don't have anything. So
okay, PJ.
Yes. Pause.
His chair is giving him difficulties.
Okay. Play. My melanated sense goes out to another podcast. I want to give a shout out to the beautiful ladies of Queen with T and J. This past weekend, this past weekend, had the opportunity to go to an event that they host every year called Pod in Live NYC, which is just basically a meetup of different podcasts, black podcasts, all people of color. And when I say that it was just so much love in the room, just amazing. And I wish that you guys were there, like you guys as the listener as well as you guys, because unfortunately you all three of you couldn't make it.
Sorry, we love you. Thanks
I know.
for repping for
I
us.
I had to represent for us,
Yeah.
you know, but
You repped
As
well.
you always do.
I mean,
Come on,
Wow.
because you the real MVP.
no, as Giovanna said from Real Housewives, because I was that bitch.
Ow.
Y'all know Giovanna, I'm that bitch. But no, so I want to give a shout out to them for doing a great event and having us you know, just be all in the room and talk with each other and just like commune and just get to know each other, because this podcasting itself is not just us getting on the microphone and just spilling out our guts or whatever it is that we want to talk about, but it's also about a sense of community. It's about how we're a connection. We're a connection. We're a community of people who actually do this, and it's like great to have a network. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Him podcast, 'cause I got to hang out with the brothers of Him, Queer Women of Color, Queer WOC. They were actually pretty cool, and there were a few others. I wish I could actually say Extra Juicy. I'm just shouting these off the top of my head. And Marsha Plate. It was just awesome. So thank you so much again to all those who actually came out, and thank you Queen and T and J for actually hosting this event. Third one. So the fourth one will be there. And I also want to just give another shout out just to let you guys know that on Juneteenth they'll be hosting another somewhat event. So
Dopeness.
on Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
That gives us time. It's a Thursday.
June 19th. Oh.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
I'll go, but I'll
Okay.
definitely be there.
Go
I
again.
already spoke to Jay, so I said I'll be there. So
Awesomeness. I want to give my melanated sense. I guess it's both. It's the sense of sight and hearing, because this was just melanation infused just everywhere. So I was at Macy's last week. Yeah, it was. It's okay though. I was at Macy's last week, and I was walking through the fine jewelry department where I just heard a string quartet. And I was like, I love a string quartet. I don't know why specifically. Like, trios don't really get me, like soloist, but like when there's four people together, I don't know why. It just does something to me. So I rounded the corner and I see four black men on these strings. Y'all, they were amazing. Check out our Instagram page. We're going to put up some of the video that I took because it was amazing. They're called the West Village Quartet, and I'll just read you part of their description. The West Village Quartet is an African-American string quartet performing works from the classical repartee. The quartet, which derives its name as a result of frequent performances in the West Village, was founded in 1987 by David Burnett Keynes, who is the second violinist and manager of the group. Y'all, they were amazing. Like, when I tell you, crowds of people were just formed around them, taking pictures, taking videos, and it was just so beautiful to just see, like, these four black men, and they were all ages. One of them looked like he was probably pretty young. He probably looked like he was in his late teens, maybe early 20s. And then the eldest, who I'm assuming is the eldest, is the manager of this group. You know, we had all different age ranges. We had black men playing, you know, the cello, the violin. It was amazing, and I just felt so overwhelmed by just like the attention that they were getting, and like just the love that they were getting. And then I walked away. I was like, okay, I got my video and stuff. I like clapped them up. I gave them cards. I said, oh, and shout out to y'all if you guys are listening. I gave them all business cards and said, I'm gonna shout y'all out on the show because you guys are just amazing. You're so impressive. So if you're listening, shout out to y'all. And then I walked away and then went to go do what I had to do. You know what pulled me back? You know what I heard them start playing that pulled me back? Now think about it.
Oh, God.
It's a string quartet.
You better back that ass up.
No. In Macy's, really? I mean, probably in Macy's.
That probably would have been really dope.
Probably.
You said Shrink
Y'all,
Quartet.
they started playing the theme to Game of Thrones.
Oh.
It was everything. I ran back over there to get video of it. It was phenomenal, fantastic. So again, my melanated sense goes out to y'all. Y'all did the damn thing. And I will also just shout out your contact information because I need people to look at y'all and get in touch with you. The website is westvillagequartet.wix.com/New York. Again, that's westvillagequartet.wix.com/New York. David Burnett is the manager of the group. You can contact him at 917-499-0881 or at davidbviolin@aol.com.
That's actually really good. See, like hearing stories like that actually really makes me excited because for a very long time I've been wanting to play the violin, and I'm all like,
I love
I'm
strings.
gonna do it.
Do it. Contact
Do
him.
it now. Do it good. Play that violin like you should.
Right now. Play it good.
Your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist going like that. See?
Did that. Awesome.
What's up, Yush?
Yushi, what's your melanated sense?
My melanated sense is going to be something that I saw that actually just like really like racked the hell out of my brain. It's a show that actually PJ put me onto, which I recently got around to watching. It's on HBO and it's called Random Acts of Linus.
Boom.
And it changed my life in ways that I cannot explain. You just have to watch it. You have to take your own journey because it is a journey watching this show.
It's so good.
I mean, like, watch it like in pieces.
Yeah,
you
do have to.
It's a lot of artistic stuff. It's so much, but it's good. It's so
It
good.
is. I mean, I literally binged it like 4 or 5 times because it was like, it was so good I couldn't stop watching it. Then I had to go back and rewatch to get the stuff that I missed. And I was just like, this is like so mind blowing. Like, it's just crazy.
Get me here. Sorry, you said mind blowing. So I'm just all of a sudden thought of Eve.
So what I really want to do is I just want to just drop you guys like a little clip from the show. It's basically called White Thoughts, not THOTS, but White Thoughts from your brain. And when you watch the show, you'll get it. So, yeah.
And so, friends, the reason white thoughts are so difficult to treat is because of this little spectrometer right here. No matter where your white thoughts fall on the spectrum, from burning crosses and wearing sheets, to engaging in the secret suspicion that your Guatemalan housekeeper holds some sort of grudge against you, to sitting there comfortable on your laptop, watching this infomercial, saying out loud to yourself, "Oh, this applies to me. I read Noam Chomsky. I'm not racist." Maybe not, John, but sadly, "I'm not racist," spoken aloud, is a classic white thought. You see, because of their diversity, these white thoughts are incredibly difficult to treat. So we must remain vigilant and remember that all these white thoughts stem from the same virus and are thus all the same shit.
So our meal today that we're going to have is going to be spaghetti and meatballs and some good old-fashioned garlic bread, Texas toast style.
Can I have a substitution? Can I have some fried chicken instead of meatballs?
Nope.
I want the good old country version. No substitution. You eat what they make.
That's right, or you go to bed hungry.
Okay. You better not drink that juice. You better swallow. That's
What?
Yep. Okay, so y'all looked at me like, what the fuck?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, okay.
Because
Nobody's ever told me to swallow my juice.
no. So my grandmother, okay, y'all stop looking at me with this.
No, you gotta just say it now
explanation.
because you're buying time.
I know, right? Oh yeah.
Explain
so,
yourself.
No, she would give because as a kid, you drink all your Kool-Aid first, and then you eat, and then you thirsty. So you would eat. You better not drink that whole cup because you ain't getting no more. Because if you don't, then guess what? You just gonna have to swallow your spit.
Yep, swallow your spit.
Oh, that I've heard.
Okay.
You said don't drink that juice, swallow. Your spit was the
This is why
the
he
part
don't
that
do the
was
census
missing.
anymore, okay?
the
all types of
shade.
Okay. I'll accept it.
shade. Okay, well, I'm hungry. So let's eat.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you. All right, so the food's getting ready to come out the kitchen. Plates are being served pretty much. We're all going to get a plate. Red's going to sit somewhere in the corner because he don't need to eat because he's fat.
I'll take my shit to go.
We're not fat shaming, but, he's fat.
Wow.
Actually, no. I lost more weight.
And you gave it to me because I put on 4 pounds.
That's not my problem anymore.
Where them cookies at? Blair shared us a picture of the guys who are the quartet. In the background of this picture is this white man or this other man he might be Hispanic.
He might be Hispanic.
All right, but he is...
Or Middle Eastern.
But he's not black. He's not a black man, and he's just standing there. It's so fun that you bring that up because we were at this event, and the event was amazing. But there was... I was one of the first people that got there, and I just wanted to just double-check. Is there going to be white people here? And they was like, no, this is a safe space for black folks. This is so we can communicate and, be with each other. And she's like, there might be one or two that may pop in. One's a photographer, this and that, whatever. Another person's a friend of a friend, but they're not going to stay. Somewhere along in the conversation, I was sitting down and then he, invaded himself into the conversation. And then him and I actually had like just a regular conversation and banter up until I realized I was talking to a white man. And I was like, wait a minute. And the sister who was sitting over to my right, she was saying something, and she looked at him. She was like, "Why is he here?" But in a sense of this was a space for us, and in the sense of that, and I completely realized it in that moment, and like kind of like rudely but made it very obvious. I was just like, and then just completely turned over and just started a conversation with her. And his response, he sat there in silence for a minute, and then out of nowhere he just whispered over my ear. He's like, "Thank you for letting me invade your space," which made me feel really weird. Not invade, intrude. Which made me feel weird for two things. The way he said it came out really weird, and the other fact of it made me feel weird, as if, should I say you're welcome, or should I acknowledge the fact that at least he knows he invaded because the space wasn't created for him? Because oftentimes when we get in these spaces, we have to change ourselves and be who we're not so we can be of the norm or be accepted or not be looked at as aggressive or angry or anything like that.
I think the thing that I do appreciate about that situation is that he recognized that this was a space where he was in a space that was created because it's a necessary space for Black people. That's why the event was taking place. That's why the space was created. So I appreciate that he recognized the mechanics of the creation of the event. I wonder how many other people at the event kind of gave him the side eye or kind of, made him feel quote unquote out of place, because that so often is the case with us when we're in white spaces. We feel so out of place and we just wish that weren't the case. So I have problems with then turning it around and giving it to somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
But why would it be a problem? And here's the question, the reason why I asked, because some people also don't know. You can tell somebody these conversations left and right, but until they're in that space, until they're in those shoes, then they don't know how it really feels until it happens to them.
Right.
And not to say it was intentional.
No. I get it. Like, I wish that more people not of color understood what it feels like to be the only person of color in a space. I wish that more of the majority know or had the opportunity to have that experience, so they know what it feels like, so they know what we have to go through. I wish that on a human level, so that way everybody can more or less, understand each other emotionally. I guess my issue is, it's like, I'm the type of person where, I know the old adage is, treat people how, they want to be treated. But I subscribe to the thinking of you have to treat people how you want to be treated. And I don't want to walk into a space and have people side-eye me or kind of give me that look like, why are you here kind of thing. That's not what I would want, so I wouldn't give that to somebody else. Like, I understand, like, the mechanics of, like, the event and, like, why that happened. And it's probably good that that happened, so that way he can experience firsthand what it's like to be the only person of a race or gender in a room that wasn't that was designed because we don't have these kind of spaces on the regular.
I feel like that part was like a part of a social experience. It could have been.
It could have been, you know, and that would be interesting too if that were actually like the case too, to get his feedback and get him to like understand like what it's like. So I don't know, like I go like back and forth with it. Like I see like the reasons why it needs to happen, but I also at the same time too, personally, I know that I wouldn't be the one to do it, to put that out there, to make somebody feel unwanted or uncomfortable or...
Well, okay, wait, okay. Because I didn't... Let me just make sure.
I mean, you did say that you, like, completely, like, was like, I'm not done talking to you, and then, like, moved on to somebody else.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't, it was like a slow transition. It wasn't like, I'm done. All right, goodbye. And I put my hand in his face. You know, I was just, all of a sudden now she and I are having a conversation. Plus the conversation him and I were having, I'm like, why are we, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I have no idea what he was talking about. I did for a second. And then I actually started looking around and just remembered the feeling of being in this space with so many beautiful black faces. Mm-hmm. And granted, I'm glad that, you know, to be all inclusive and be, you know, everybody's welcome, but we don't get that same in return.
Right. And that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, like,
what?
we don't get that in the spaces that are the majority. We're tolerated in the spaces that are the majority, but are we necessarily welcomed in those spaces? Right. Not always the case.
The problem that I have with the reaction that you just described, PJ, is that it's not, something like that is not often well thought out, and it is often misconstrued. So what happens is like there's like an endless cycle in terms of what people should do. So you're saying that you had a black space, right? Like we had our black space for us to network and be ourselves and not worry about all this stuff like that. And then for him, if he, you know, let's just say that he didn't have any malicious intent on doing anything.
Which he didn't. Yeah, okay, so he was one of the photographers there.
Okay, so then great. Like, so he didn't have any malicious intent of like being a certain type of way. There are people that do, and then they'll turn right back around and say, "Well, this is our thing." You know, it becomes like this vicious cycle that I have an issue with. It's kind of like along the lines of like what Blair had just mentioned. Mm-hmm. I get why you do it, but we at some point I feel like we have to kind of break away from that and be a little bit more inclusive. And I just wonder how is the best way to do that.
I mean, the only thing I can say about that was it was a natural transition because the conversation that she and I were having for a second took a pause. And then he jumped in, and then him and I are having a conversation, and then her conversation pressed play again. So I was now finally focused back on the conversation I was initially having. It's like walking into a bar when two people are having a conversation. You're just going to stand in between them and then jump in, right. But then you're like the odd man out, so you slowly back out because this doesn't concern you,
right? But and that's fine. Like and I trust your judgment to be able to do that. Like if I'm having this great conversation
and
with
I was
Blair,
sober.
And okay, even better. If I'm having this great conversation with Blair, and then you're here being, you know, normal PJ, like I'm gonna stop talking to you. And I want to talk to Blair as normal, as per normal.
Wants to talk to Blair.
You know. So with that being said, like that's fine. Like that's based on the content of everything. But as they start having a conversation to ignore me, I think that's fine. I think once again, I just have an issue with the people who are just going to be blatantly, you know, solely because, it's because of race. So I'm like, why am I talking to this white man? Boom.
Right.
You know, why am I talking to this black dude? Boom. Like, you know, we get too much into that. Mm. And I just wonder where is that line where we go, okay, like we know that you do this and we do that, but we can still come together at the end of the day to take care of like whatever we need to take care of. I just wonder what that is. And in all honesty, you know, it's frustrating because I get the, you know, being a blackface in a white space. You know, I get that. I get, you know, code switching and, you know, having to act some type of way, you know, around people. I think that's, it shouldn't be like that. I don't know.
How you feel?
You know, honestly, it would be great if the idea of code switching didn't have to exist. But unfortunately, the way that this world runs, it exists because it's forced upon us to make it exist. So when we're in a white space, and 9 times out of 10, when you come between two people and you just start this conversation out of the blue, there's always this one. It's always this one Becky who will kind of, in her sarcastic, white privilege way, kind of back you out of the conversation, you know, quote unquote, putting you in your place. And it would be nice if that did not, you know, if that didn't exist. Or what they'll do is just kind of have the conversation over you without even acknowledging you. And it just really sucks that, you know, these type of things happen. So when we are in the comfort zone of our own people and we're in that black space, it's a very beautiful thing for us to be able to fully express who we are, even just as human beings, period. Because a lot of us as black people have our switch turned on all the time, or we know how to switch back and forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to be honest, PJ, that comment, if that happened to me and someone said that in my ear, it would literally make my body tense up and make my muscles feel like acid. Because the first thing I would think is that's the epitome of white thoughts, which I played a clip of that in the melanated sense. That's the epitome of a white thought, and the audacity for you to even say that. Even if you knew that this was the case, why did you have to say that? It didn't have to be said at that moment. It could have just been kept to yourself. You know, you could have just went on to take pictures, do whatever you were doing. But for you to actually say, thank you for allowing me to invade your space, when white people know that black people don't like for them to do that. We're not as touchy-feely as they are. So we don't like when a person comes to us and be like, oh, I like your hair, and grab it. Or they put their hand on your shoulder and start talking to you. We're not those type of people. I mean, amongst ourselves maybe, but, you know, it's just a boundaries type of thing. There's a bubble. And like I said, it would be beautiful if we didn't have to worry about these type of things, but they exist. And for him to even say that, honestly, it would have bothered me. And I would have continued having my conversation with the sister on the right, too.
I mean, I agree. And that's the part that makes me feel weird, because it wasn't the right moment for it. Like, that could have been something if we would have been passing, maybe in passing, and then the conversation could have been brought up, and an apology saying, you know, hey, just wanted to let you know, I apologize if I invaded your space, or, you know, or something like that, or, you know, thank you. I mean, there was just so many different interpretations, but in that moment, I was just like really weirded out by it, and then immediately I looked around the room and just saw why I was here, and I just let all of that go for that second. So it was.
But you know what's crazy about that? For me, if it was me there or anywhere, if somebody said that to me, I would still feel weirded out by it. It couldn't matter where. We could have been coming down a water slide, and you'd be like, "Let me intrude your space." I'd have been like, "The fuck," you know. I think that we really, and I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm really trying to be objective and, like, you know, come from someone else's perspective. But I really think that a lot of people, not just white people, I think just anybody in general, talk from a place of where they only know, and because of that, that's part of their ignorance. Some people know better. Some people absolutely do know better. Like, I remember being, you know, in college, and, you know, people already had an incident where someone, you know, unknowingly touched my hair, and I didn't want that to happen, and they knew that it pissed me off, and then they would do something or make an attempt to, or like, I'm just joking kind of thing, you know. So some people know, but then there's some people that really just don't know how to articulate anything at the end of the day. So they are going to say it the best way that they possibly can. And I think that part of it is up to us to decide on how we're going to respond back to it. Like, PJ, I mean, honestly, I think like you did, I think that was a
I could have handled. I know. I realized I could have handled it better, but it was a decent way. I think.
No. Yeah, the way that you handled it, especially being out with other people and stuff like that, and
just representing the group. Right. I also wanted to make sure that I was like,
I think you did an amazing job doing that. I think it could have been said differently. I think you could have got more into depth about like how to respond to him. But there's I don't know if there's a wrong way, but I just question, like, if you were and I'm doing air quotes, angry black man, and you was like, the fuck you say? How that would have switched up everything, because now he would have deemed you
on the defensive.
Right. He would have been like, oh my God. And maybe not even on purpose, right? Maybe he was just trying to ask and trying to understand. And now he has this view of like any bald black dude with auburn, facial hair. I can't be like,
but so
be around him.
To add like just a little bit like more a little Laura seasoned salt to what you're saying.
Yes.
We got to season it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. For many of us black folks, and many of us just as you were saying, some of us can turn it on, some of us turn it off, some of us have it on all day, some of us don't. There's always that like split second where it's like, have you ever seen like those shots of the show? Like, so the new season of So You Think You Can Dance, they're doing this new thing where they have like 128 cameras around the stage. So there's going to be a pause and a still, like a 3D still of them all the way around. So there's like, just in your mind, just imagine, that moment, that quick flash, and then all of a sudden your mind has to wonder, how are we going to respond to this? Which is just how we do in general, how your mind actually works. But we have to turn on the nice guy. Phil is completely different from PJ, which is completely different from Philip. So, and each one of these entities that all reside in me are one gets blacker than the next. And I'm just starting to realize more so. Shut up.
50 Shades of Melanin. Sorry.
Yeah. I said shut up.
You better get your tagline.
Okay. Usually because he slowly crept to the microphone and said that. I say this because, lately PJ has been like, he here. Because this is
Is that the blackest version?
The blackest of the blackest.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think that version. We do, a lot of us, and this is not everybody, it's just like you said, some of us have our switch turned on all the time, and some of us are able to turn it on and off. But I think that is inherently a survival mechanism that we as black people have had throughout generations, because we have had to learn how to survive in many different types of spaces, how to act in different types of spaces in order to survive. And I think that's inherent within all of us. I know I'm the queen of code switching. Okay, I can turn it on, I can turn it off. It just all I have to do is assess the room that I'm in, and I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen here. This is what's going to happen here. You can get a little more flavor. You're not going to get so much flavor. It just kind of depends on what I feel like the room calls for.
Either J, B, or T. One of those. Or J,
Claire,
B, T.
or
Claire.
Claire's here too. There's a whole story behind
There's a whole
that.
inside joke apparently.
But I think what we're all discussing here is the problem is the fact that I know how to do that, and the fact that I feel the need to do that.
So the point that I was about to make into that, with that whole change in your mind, that whole section when you assess the room, it after a while doing that on such a on an everyday basis becomes so exhausting. Mm-hmm. It's so tiring.
Unless you're a black person and you just used to just piling more shit on.
Yeah, we got the muscles.
Unless you're a black person in a black space where you feel that you can be safe and you can say these things. Let's say that I say something that everybody else is cool with, but the one person who's in the room who relates to that part of whiteness gets offended. Does that mean now I have to code switch because you're half, or you relate to this part of whiteness?
I don't think you have to code switch, but you have to understand that they have every right to feel that way.
And then as they should, because no one can tell anybody how they feel, they have also they should have the right to express it.
Right.
And feel free
You're
to
damn right
express
you got a
it.
code switch.
So if you can't if you
Because they
can't
be fishing.
if you can't express it, and if you choose not to, then that creates the energy that we have to now code switch. Now we have to be different in front of somebody else. You know, like I come from a whole. Well, go ahead. Okay. Pause.
No. Go ahead.
I agree.
No, I mean, so I was gonna say is being like being an only black manager when I was working at that godforsaken place at NYU Medical Center, and being the only black manager, and being the only black male manager, and then being the only black openly gay manager. Being in a room, you know, that yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's funny, right? You know, like trying to turn that person on, to turn Philip on. I don't like him because he's not who I am.
So I guess I have a question. Is like, why do we code switch? And and it's kind of a rhetorical question, because I think we code switch because we want to try and fit in and feel comfortable in those spaces. In your particular situation where you have somebody who is half black, half white, and now they're offended because their white side feels some type of way. I don't think that you should all of a sudden feel like you need to code switch around them. I think if anything, it's an opportunity for a conversation and for you to talk about why you feel certain ways about certain things, so that maybe the two of you can learn from each other. And I think that a lot of times we don't have those opportunities. Like and
the reason why we don't have those opportunities, because there's one phrase that I constantly tell people all the time, and I'm going to say this, and I don't care how this comes out. White people don't know how to use their words. So if you feel some type of way, you don't say it directly, because you're afraid of how it's going to come off. You're afraid that you're going to offend. You're afraid that you're going to make somebody mad or anything like that. But you are still entitled to your feelings. So say them, because I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Yeah, but
doesn't that just kind of go back to what you were saying before about the guy who said what he wanted to say?
But it's how you say it and when you say it.
But now we're putting caveats on it.
Yeah, because
now we're saying,
this is part of the assessment. So this is part of, now you have to realize when you can say something and how you should say it, if you feel that you need to say it. But he felt the need to tell me that. Mm-hmm. So he could have assessed it differently. The one who was offended me felt the need to be offended and felt the need to tell someone else, when he could have assessed it and said it to me, and then realized all you had to do was just say anything to me.
But all of that is going to has to take conversation and experience anyway. If you're talking from a white man that's, who was lily white and doesn't know how to like approach a black man about anything, he's going to say however, and then it's either he gets Phil or he gets PJ. So if he gets Phil on that day, he has a chance to actually learn and figure out like what he's going for, how better to approach certain things. If he's getting PJ, all he knows is that, man, I shouldn't say nothing anymore. Now I'm gonna just talk behind them by their back. So now you sitting there walking into the coffee break room, and you overhear a conversation. Now you upset because he said something behind your back.
And that's where my issue comes in right there. The fact that when these situations happen, we have to be the one to do damage control. It's like, okay, I don't want to make Bob offended. So if Bob offends me, I'm just going to react the right way.
What about Bob?
So
One of my favorite movies.
So that Bob doesn't get offended, because if Bob offends me and I say something back to him, it's, I'm being attacked.
Yeah.
But if you're the one biting first, if you bite a dog gonna bite you back.
Yeah.
If you punch somebody, they gonna punch you back. So it's like, why do we have to be the one to do the damage control? Because these damn cops will shoot your ass. Because we'll be the ones to lose our job.
Because it's this innately learned survival technique.
Exactly, and it's for a reason. And because, like Red, you mentioned, why is it that we have to code switch? We have to code switch so that we can be able to do things and get along in America. Because if we don't code switch, we won't be able to have certain things. If we don't code switch, we won't be able to get that job making six figures. You know what I mean? We won't be able to do certain stuff. Yes, you could start your own business, but you got to go to the bank to get the loan in the first place. So
and the reverse code switching for the others to do that is, now they're culturally appropriating. Now they're trying to do something that's completely outside of their norm, because there's no way for a white person to code switch unless they want to code switch from unracist to racist, or racist to unracist, basically. That makes
wipe away those white thoughts.
Yeah, I mean-
but that's the thing. We always have to be the ones to do damage control. And PJ, that's what I saw you doing. The way you handled that was your way of doing damage control. Because, like Red said, you could have been like, "What the fuck you say?"
You
know
could have
what I mean?
went super left, but you didn't. So kudos to
and
you.
by doing that, it's gonna do
On the
what?
sake of
Or
y'all,
you could have
y'all.
just been like, "Oh, you're welcome." Like, why
That-
would I even say that?
And see, and you know, and as it's so funny you say that, because in that moment that was going to be my actual response up until I looked over and then I looked back around the room and saw the bigger purpose, saw the bigger thing, and I didn't want to make this to be a bigger thing, and just because I know how things can be blown out of proportion. But the main reason why I even wanted to suggest this topic was, number one, the conversation, just being in that space felt so freeing. And one of the things that somebody said was, there's no need to code switch because we all here for us. We're all amongst our people. We can talk however we talk. And if somebody gets offended, they get offended and they speak up and it's squashed and it's done. As opposed to trying to turn out to be like, to get away from the Malcolm X version to the Martin Luther King version, where we turn the other cheek and don't say anything and just keep it to ourselves and then just play nice and, you know, beg for forgiveness or however you want to word it. Does that make any sense? Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. She's intently looking into the sky.
It makes sense to me.
Processing what you're saying.
I mean, and so, I mean, for me, PJ, and even now going forward, you know, like, everything is, PJ stands for Philip James, right? So Philip James himself, that's who I am. That's my acting persona. That's where my checks are going to be signed as. PJ, when I'm in a room, is just, I'm not going to intentionally hurt anybody's feelings, but I am no longer going to let anybody else say what they can or want to say around me, period. Especially when it deals with race or ethnic background. And that's just me. I'm going to be completely honest. And I've come to this idea, and I spoke to my uncle about this. The older I get, I posted this just the other day. Closer I get to 40, the less I care. The less I give a fuck.
Do you feel like there are a lot of people who are not black that talk to you about race?
No.
That's a very good point.
Because you're saying you're not going to allow people to, you know, say any kind of whatever to you, especially if it's about race.
Well, I would.
Okay,
let me switch the word. Say, just like the microaggressions, the everyday thing that we often ignore because we have to or we choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
like when you've been working there for 2 years and they know your name is Philip, but they call you John or James,
or another black person, as they've been doing for a couple of times, and you know, and it's and we look nothing alike. So I mean, but
all black people look alike.
Yeah. So no, all Asian people look alike.
Oh, see, now what we're not going to do. What we're not going to do. And but look, that leads me into just kind of what I was saying before is I feel like we as a people, first of all, we as the human race have been through so much. We as black people have been through so much, and there are places that we've come from that we don't want to go back to, right, and that we don't want to be treated like that anymore. And so I'm very cognizant of that, and at the same time too, like I said, if I don't want to be treated like that, then I'm not going to treat other people like that too. So I'm not going to so just like the whole, like that's been the stereotype for years is, like all black people look alike. And it's like now we're turning it around and saying all Asian people look alike. Like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that. One, it's not true. And two, it's another microaggression that we are now passing off to the next. There's so much more that we could talk about here, and this could go into so many different directions. But let's just table this for now, and we'll dig into it later.
We're going to pin this conversation.
But right
this
now,
is for leftovers.
I want to. Even though we have leftovers, there's always room for dessert. Mm-hmm. There's always room for dessert.
A quick dessert. Can we have a frozen treat?
A frozen treat.
It's starting to get hot out.
Yes. Oh, well, I did this one already.
Favorite flavor, icy.
Okay. All right. So we are going to have a frozen treat. And if everybody could go around and say what type of flavored icy they would like to have, whether you're getting it from the cart, whether you're getting it from the stove, whether you're getting it from Mr. Softy, what your flavored icy is, along with your final thought.
I'll leave this one off. My favorite flavor is red. Because that's the only that's the only flavor that black people really know.
You know, I'm pretty tasty.
That and grape.
And grape.
Grape is disgusting.
That purple stuff.
Yeah, I just like red, you know. And I'll leave my final pause thought right now because we're just gonna put this on pause. I'm learning how to be better in situations like this, and I think that if we all took the time to not instantly react and think first, that a lot of the situations that can get big can just stay a little bit smaller.
I shall have a lemon icy, and
Ew,
I guess
they make those.
They do.
Oh, it's from the cart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my final thought that's going to be put on pause is that one thing I am really realizing about myself is that as I get older, I am a little bit more vocal about different things. I used to hold in a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think from the flip side, I think sometimes we are the problem, like we don't address it. So these people just go on to say whatever and you feel oppressed or feel some kind of way. So take a moment, think, but definitely speak up about it and in the most respectful way that you possibly can. Say something.
Mm-hmm.
My flavor icy will be the rainbow flavor from the cart from the beautiful Spanish lady in Prospect Park walking around ringing the bell. I'll have that one, please, and thank you. My final thought is when I was younger, I used to be a lot more vocal and my tongue used to get me in trouble a lot. And as I became older, I've learned to when to speak, what to say and how to say it. And I also notice when to pick my battles. Mm-hmm. And there are certain situations where I will just allow it to happen because I know that, yeah, I can, go the way and be like, oh, well, let me explain this. But then sometimes it really just goes in out of one ear and out of the other when you're talking to a person because sometimes it could be like a brick wall. So I've come to learn to pick my battles. But when I do speak up and I do say something, because I'm a Capricorn, I usually shoot daggers, but I'm shooting daggers that are based on truth. And it really goes to the heart of a person. So that's my rainbow flavored final paused thought.
And my icy is going to be blue raspberry, just because I like that it turns your tongue blue.
Nice.
I don't know. It's fun to me.
Go blue.
So I'm going to... I wasn't even thinking that. I wasn't, but I like where your head is at. I like where your head is at. You better hail to the Victor's Valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail to Michigan, the leaders, and the best.
Girl, we gotta go.
And my final
I'm
thought
so sick of you. Why would you do that?
He did it. My final thought is, I know I said before that, I'm the queen of code switching, and I say that mostly because I am really good at it, but I realize that I don't want to feel like I have to do it, and I do have my moments where I'm at my survival job, and I realize that there are situations where I can be more myself, and so I'm allowing that to kind of shine through a little more, just kind of like what Red was saying. Like there are situations where I am trying to learn how to grow in the scenarios that I'm in, and just essentially not have to have so many different personas. I can just be just me. And what I'm also coming to realize with that too is like me just being me does also mean that I do have different personas. I have different levels to me. But the thing for me to remember and realize is that I should be doing that just because I want to, and not because I'm in an environment where I feel like I have to do it.
Okay. On that note, we're gonna put a pin in this conversation. We're gonna actually continue this conversation, and who knows, we might actually just have somebody in the room with us, giving them their opinion as well. So, guys, thank you again for taking another time to listen to another episode of Highly Melanated. As always, like I said before, you can follow us on all forms of social media on Instagram, which is Highly Melanated Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, which is H_melanatedpod. You can email us any questions, comments, and concerns at highlymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. And as of now, so again, you can go to our brand new website, which was www.highlymelanatedpodcast.com. Sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace, sponsor us. Sponsor us. Yeah, that's it.
Sounds amazing.
So we just look out for a part 2 for this one. All right, guys.
Love, peace, and be yourself.
Express yourself.